Welcome to Crafting Your Next Move.
Welcome to Crafting Your Next Move with Lori Kraft, Associate Broker with the Kraft team at Origin Realty Group. Lori is a top producing Houston Realtor with more than 15 years of experience helping clients buy and sell homes across the Houston area. Known for her honest advice and boutique approach, she and her team combine cutting edge marketing with good old fashioned service to deliver the results that speak for themselves. I'm Leanne Lyon, and today we are talking about what happens when a home doesn't sell. Lori will explain what causes listings to stall and how sellers can adjust course without losing momentum. Hello, Lori. So good to see you always.
Hey, good seeing you too.
So, when a home has been on the market longer than expected, what do you evaluate first?
Well, the first thing we're going to look at, in all honesty, is price. Because there are three things that drive sales: um, price, condition, and location. Location's number one, and the least thing you can't really do a whole lot about it. The house sets where the house sets. The second one is condition, and you can change condition, but not without cost and not without time off market. And then the third thing is the price. So once you're on market and you're moving, the one variable that you can change pretty quickly in an adjustment is the pricing. And that's why I said it's really hard to turn the whole ship around, because once you start price drops, it's noted. And it's interesting because even Zillow will adjust their algorithm based on a price drop. So whereas when you first look at this house, let's say you priced it, I've got one right now. Let's say you priced it 675, using a real world example. Um, and I'll be honest, when I talked to my people, I was like, this is not where this belongs. We belong 625 to 650. And they were adamant they couldn't, but 675 was the lowest they would list at. And history tells me I should have walked away, but it was a referral from a friend. So you take those. So we listed there. Well, within 2 weeks, I knew we were off because we weren't getting any showings. And that's how you know. Because that tells me that when somebody is looking at this property online, what they see does not match the price. If it was close, they'd at least make an appointment to go see it in person and think, well, maybe the pictures aren't doing it justice. But when they don't even show up, it tells me that people are just scrolling through going, they're crazy, and moving on. So then you do a price adjustment. Well, when you do that price adjustment, when you had it at 675, the Zestimate is going to be between 600, because they always go low, and 650. When you drop it to 650, the Zestimate shifts. So that tells you that this estimate isn't always based in reality, right? It's based on
Mhm.
trends and algorithms. So now your estimate is going to be 575 to 625 or 650 maybe. So it impacts everything. So then you start looking like you're snowballing downhill. The second thing I'm going to look at is condition, because like I said, the price and the condition have to match. And for the buyer, if those two things don't match, they won't come see the property. So you look at condition. Now the particular property that I had, that it was very frustrating because it was one where it was hurry up and get it on market. They had remodeled everything. They had redone all the flooring, redone the kitchen, redone all the bathrooms, painted everything. And they were scrambling to get everything out and get things touched up. And they wanted it all staged. We were trying to stage in the middle of the night to get it ready for photos the next day. So my ability to go back in and check everything was limited. The first chance, unfortunately, that I had to check everything was at an open house, which was the next day. And that's when people very loudly pointed out problems. So the house full of people all heard, "Where's the downdraft? It's missing a vent. Why is this, crooked?" I mean, all those things. And then I'm like, okay. So in that case, when condition doesn't match price, you are going to have to either pull the property off market to address those issues or relist it at a later date. You can't start the pot all over again, because days on market stay, at least in Texas or Houston, for 365 days. It has to be off market a full 6 months before it shows as a new listing. So we have like this asterisk. So you relist it, it'll be new to market one day, but then there's an asterisk, and anybody with half a brain will go back in and check the archive and see that it's actually been on market 60 days. You just took new pictures and put it up as a new listing, with usually a new price. So if you don't address all of those issues, you're going to continue to see problems. You're going to continue to see price drops. The one thing that the only option for overcoming is with price is location. Again, I'm going to use this property as an example. We are right around the corner from tennis courts. It's a high traffic area. People don't like it. It's considered a through street. It's busy. They've got little kids. They don't want them running out and getting hit by a car. So even though it's interior to the neighborhood, it's in a high traffic area of the neighborhood. So that's going to hurt your traffic flow. So the price has to reflect that. And if it doesn't, you're going to scroll on through. Because people know how to zoom in, they know how to use Google Earth, they know how to look at the little map section of the MLS, and they will. And usually in many of these neighborhoods, they already know they want in that neighborhood. So they know things about the neighborhood, and you're not going to be able to push it over on somebody. So those become problematic issues.
So if they're getting no showings, you're getting no offers, that's usually right away a price issue. What if they're getting showings but not getting offers? What does that usually point to?
Usually, what I tell people is you're still overpriced, but you're not as overpriced. Because what that tells me is that, again, it's another mismatch of what they're seeing doesn't match the price. But it's in that window though, because they're at least willing to go look and see, it seems like it's a little high, but let's go look at it. Maybe there's something I'm missing. And they get there and they go, nope, I was right. It does not match the price. And they'll move on to a property that does. So then you're at least in the right ballpark. You just need to tweak it a little bit. So you're not talking about and people get real carried away and they'll say, well, I don't want to drop my property 15%. No, you don't have to do that. Usually a big price drop is 5%. But if you keep having to drop, you may end up at 15%. So a small tweak might be 1%, might not take a whole lot.
So in that case, when changes are needed, how do you guide sellers through adjusting without, like you just mentioned, overcorrecting?
We look at comparables in real time. We look at where the market is trending. It's not enough to just go, well, these are the sold properties. We need to look at how many days on market are ticking up, the properties that actually go under contract within a reasonable time period. So if your average days on market in a neighborhood is 60, for example, which is not unusual right now. So if you've got 60 days as average and you're at 90 and you've got properties that are at 180, 185. So you look at the price that's sold for that 185 number, and then you look at the ones that went under contract prior to that 60-day mark. Those properties, you want to compare apples to apples, so same number of bedrooms, same number of baths, similar location. If those properties went under 60 days, then you want to look at where they're priced. Because you know that wherever they're priced at, even if that's not what they've sold for, because you won't know that for 30 days, you do know that that price got them an offer. And that's how you help guide your clients with this is where we need to be. And sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't.
And what can cause a listing to lose momentum after the first couple of weeks? Maybe it starts strong, but then kind of peters off.
That same thing. It doesn't match the expectation. And when you see that, you usually, in a perfect world, as an agent, you're going to be able to help your clients understand the need to change quickly. The problem is most sellers don't want to do that. They feel like you haven't given the market enough time. And so the
Mhm.
really and truly the ideal time to shift is at the 1.5 week mark when nothing is happening. Either you have no showings or you have scant showings or you have showings and no offers with a lot of feedback that all say the same thing: overpriced, overpriced, overpriced. When you see that trend, you need to move quickly because your best buyer comes in the first 2 weeks. That doesn't mean they're going to offer in those first 2 weeks, but that's your best buyer. So you want to capture them and you don't want to lose them.
Can you share an example of where a listing stalled and what specifically turned it around for you or for your seller?
I will tell you that 90% of the time what turns things around is, price, but I did have one that had a very unique problem that was not discovered until we'd been on market a bit. So what happened was we had one, I think I may have mentioned this in a prior podcast. We had one that had a foundation that should not have been touched, but he got convinced by his friends, 2-year-old home, that he needed to call their friends Jose to come out and redo the foundation. Home was covered under warranty. They should have had the builder look at it. But he new to this country, didn't know, got Jose to do it. No warranty, no evidence. The little paperwork we had was a lot full of misspellings and typos. So by the time we were able to provide that to the public, because I didn't have it initially, when we did get it, um, it was more problematic than not having it at all. So what we ended up doing is pulling it off market temporarily for a week. I pulled in a what I he pulled in some foundation people. I would not have done that. There's secondary gate. You get a foundation company to look at the house because they want to make money on redoing your foundation. So I went and hired out of my own pocket a structural engineer to come out. A very reputable one that was an engineer at A&M. He taught as a professor there. So he came out, he looked at it, he took pictures, he took all the measurements. He said, "You cannot get this foundation more level if you tried. If you touch it anymore, you've risked damaging it. Leave it alone." And that he wrote a 2-page letter explaining that. Should never have been touched to begin with. It does seem to be stable at the back. I do not agree with any of these other inspections that have been done from these foundation people. I think they're bogus. Their machines are obviously not calibrated correctly because they're all different. Said I have to calibrate mine every 30 days because of my licensure. So that's what he put all in this letter, and we were under contract and multiple offers within 2 days of posting all the information.
How might you decide that changes to presentation or marketing may be needed instead of price?
That's a hard one because we do so much from the get-go to make sure that we're over marketing. However, I look at who's coming to see the house. What is my age range? I've got another one that I'll give you an example where we got to shift the marketing strategy. So we had a beautiful home in a gated neighborhood. It was an older community, and we updated the property to get it ready for sale. So they had painted everything white, and we had staged it to reflect a more modern aesthetic. That was not the target buyer. The target buyer was more like Ralph Lauren, Nancy Meyer aesthetic, your grandma's house. And, we were thinking, well, we need to bring it up. We need to update it. Well, it was pretty evident after the first month on market that we weren't attracting the right buyer because the buyer that we were attracting wanted new construction. It was a 40-year-old home. You're not going to get that. So we adjusted. We changed up the furnishings. We redid photos. We refocused very narrowly to target that market, which is Facebook, not Instagram, not TikTok. We sent out flyers to people to try to get their parents to want to be in the gated section because it was smaller with a small lot. And we eventually did get that one under contract. That was a struggle.
Well, I know you're up for it. So, when sellers start to feel discouraged, how do you help them stay focused and keep the process moving?
Well, we remind them of the big picture. I actually had one with financing issue, and what I said is, you have to remember this is a long game. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So we are going to try to figure out what adjustments work best to meet your ultimate goals. And that may mean longer days on market, or it might mean you cut your losses now so that you can sell it quick. One of the best lessons I learned was when I worked with a builder client. He did new construction. And it was $1 million homes, and he was very helpful because he said, "Lori, I hear what you're saying, that I should lower the price on this, but let me tell you, my carrying costs are 3,000 a month. If we lower it to where you're telling me the market is right now, it's going to cost me 50,000. I can hold this for a year and not lose 50,000. So let's wait a little bit longer. I want to give it at least 6 months, not doing a price adjustment, and see if we can't attract that one little loose minnow that might come from out of state. And we did. It didn't sell for what he wanted, but he still didn't lose 50. He lost about 20 in terms of a price reduction. So that's the kind of thing you help them understand.
Well, that is it for today's episode of Crafting Your Next Move. If you're thinking about selling in Cypress, Tomball, or anywhere in the greater Houston area, visit craftrealtyteam.com to learn more or connect directly with Laurie's team. And remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe to the show so you catch every episode. Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.